Hello and welcome back to the Blend podcast. I'm your host, Mike Ruff, and joining me are 4 guests from the Garage Hive team to discuss some of the latest game-changing features, and I do mean game-changing features to come from the community-led garage management system. We've got Operations Manager Metcalfe, Technical Manager Rhys Hill, and Head of Training Tom Langridge. If you're watching this on social media or YouTube, you've probably noticed that we're on camera. It's a new format for 2025, but rest assured the content for each episode will still be our main focus. That said, I'll apologise up front for any questionable camera angles that you might catch. For those of you listening on our usual podcast player, however, you're spared from that experience entirely. Now, before we dive into today's episode, I want to say hello to our guests. Thanks for joining us today. And then for anyone listening that's not familiar with Garage Hive, Rhys, perhaps you could get us started with a quick explanation of what this garage management system can do for an independent garage business.
It's twofold. So the product itself is really built on how and why the process is what it needs to be. And one of the big benefits a lot of people in our community will say is it's not just the software, and I'm not detracting from what our software does, but what Garage Hive does offer people is this very connected community of incredibly talented garages that are more than willing to share their data and experiences to improve the whole industry. But back on the software aspect, Garage Hive in itself, we pride ourselves on each part of how it works starts with why and how it should be connected. So if someone wants this field to be mandatory, for argument's sake, why do you need it mandatory? What's caused you to get to this point? And we build this product out with a process and a flow to give you a robust way of operating a garage.
I'm going to play devil's advocate for a moment. Surely any garage management system is capable of tracking the customer journey from that initial inquiry through to handing the keys back to the customer. What makes Garage Hive different?
They are, and of course, if you go and do any kind of comparison and you get up a list and you say, does it do this, does it do that, and you do a tick box exercise, sure. And the same applies to everything. You know, you look at accountancy packages, there are 3 or 4 main leaders in accountancy packages out there, and they all, in a sense, do the same thing. However, if you ask which one does it best, there'll be a large number of people that recommend one above another. And I feel that it's the same thing. Back to what I said there, anyone can put any number of, in brackets, features together and claim that it all does everything. If the features aren't connected together in a sensible, connected method, in a flow where a business owner or a service advisor or a technician can easily get from what's required in step 1 to what's required in step 2, then the process falls apart.
Excellent answer, Rhys. Now, Dawn, I'm looking at you for this next one. We've mentioned community a few times already, and Garage Hive is described as a community-led garage management system. That's how I've introduced it today. But what does that actually mean?
By us listening to what our community's needs and wants are, it helps us mould that software. And more often than not, what we do find is some of these features that one garage actually is after will then suit and help and work with others as well. So definitely, particularly the new feature that we've announced, probably say new, it's been out for over a year now, and was our ideas, a sort of Verity page where our existing customers can go and submit any ideas or requests that they may want to try and help us improve our software. And then that's where the whole of the community can go to, and that's where we choose some of our development ideas from. So rather than us as people who are working on the software thinking an idea might be the one that most people would be looking for, actually sometimes that might not be the case. So at least this way we're listening to what our community is really looking for.
And you more recently launched, and we'll talk about the recent Garage Hive update shortly, but it's worth adding here, I think, about the new refinement page. Tell us more about that if you could.
Absolutely, yeah. So again, it's really good putting new features within a software, but sometimes just those little refinements that can make that day-to-day for the end users that little bit simpler, the flow, a bit quicker, with processes that they're doing day in, day out. So adding new features, I say, is always really, really good, and it's useful for them in the long run. But actually refining some of what Garage Hive can already do, or some of the features that we have implemented, making some tweaks to them can just improve them even more as well. So that's where the refinements come in. So we're trying to get that balance of introducing new features, but then also refining our existing features and process that we've got already.
A garage management system is the beating heart of a garage business, isn't it? So once you're set up with any given garage management system, it's pretty daunting for many to have to unplug from one system and get started on another. So what can you guys do to help make that process as easy as possible?
So from a support point of view, it all starts from the initial inquiry, really. We make sure we ask the right questions, make sure that Garage Hive is the right fit for this business. So it is starting with the questions that our head of sales will ask during that initial inquiry, and then all the way throughout the setup element of things. At that point, it's handed over to our training department. Our training department spends a day or more with the business owner remotely, ensuring that all of their requirements are met, that they're set up in the system in advance. Because you're absolutely right, that transition from one GMS to another is very painful, and we never shy away from saying this to people who are coming on board. We want them to be going into this eyes open. So it's that time with then our trainers that we meet their needs, get those setups within their system. So again, that transition is hopefully that little bit simpler, because what they've had in a previous system, we can try and mirror that as much as we can, together with some of our automation that we've got within Garage Hive that can help that flow that little bit easier. And then from that point as well, we then go out and spend the 3 days with the business owners and the garage themselves during the go live. So we want this to work from day one. So 3 days out on site, we're running that business alongside the business owner and the advisors to make sure that transition is smooth. And then again, after we leave after those 3 days, it then gets handed over to our support department, which we've had so much feedback over the years. They're available on WhatsApp, email, phone. The turnaround time for responses to any support tickets is very, very quick as well. So throughout the whole process of onboarding and throughout their journey with Garage Hive, the support element from the whole team is something that we're really proud of.
If I add to that, I think for me, my view on how Garage Hive works is, of course, it's our job to sell our software. That's what we're trying to do, just like garages are trying to sell their labour and parts. But we're selling it from an angle of we're trying to make garages better, not trying to sell our product. If garages are better with our product, they'll buy our product, not we want garages to buy our product. If that makes sense, it's a slightly different angle. I think that's where we've got a lot of success. We intrinsically care about how our product is used and why, rather than just buy it. That's where we're starting from, is you need this and then you want to have this product, you want to use the features, you want to grow it, you want to be in the community, and I think that's where our success has come from with that.
Absolutely, and part of that is that it just cements that the fact that we've got the rolling monthly contract, it just absolutely cements what Rhys is saying, that we want the businesses to use it and to help them improve, and not be with us because they're sort of tied down into a long-term contract as such. That's how confident we are with the product.
Dawn, you mentioned that you have a training department, so it's a good point to bring Tom into the conversation here as head of training. Garage Hive opened an IMI-approved training centre in Nottingham last year, and I gather that it's proven extremely popular.
You can't hit the stop button on an independent garage, can you? So in terms of an ideal learning environment, that isn't always the best environment to learn in. So I think having the opportunity to come and train in the correct environment, an environment that is that helps that learning experience, I think is something that garages are finding very, very useful, and I'm personally really enjoying doing it. It's a privilege to be able to make people more confident about their job, go away and make positive change in their business.
Talk us through the courses on offer, if you could, please.
We started with a course for those more experienced users, which we've named 3-day super user course. We look at really trying to have somebody within that business who's the point of contact to maintain the health of and adapt to the system as the business evolves to make sure it's still meeting the right needs. Yes, of course, we're happy to pick those questions up on support, and there's the document site that people can use, but actually having that real world training on how to maintain and adapt to your system and be that point of contact within your business, I think it's quite an empowering thing to do for somebody. Then we followed on with a 2-day front of house course. This is particularly useful for people who are new to the garage or relatively new, and it will take them through that core process and understanding of how Garage Hive day-to-day flows with the job. And of course, there's going to be nuances and differences to and layers of procedure that they're going to need to take from the garage itself. But there's always that core process in Garage Hive that is universal to most garages, and that will really give a new user that confidence to go away and maybe not have that moment in the garage where they're trying to figure this stuff out with 4 phone calls going and 3 customers walking through the door.
I think also part of the service advisor course, so it's for them to understand the flow, isn't it, of Garage Hive. So for them to know from start to finish what good looks like. So by them understanding it, not in that live, busy garage environment, for them seeing, okay, from start to finish, how does Garage Hive work and the whys, why do we do it this way? And part of that whys was being things they're doing, such as the vehicle inspections and the vehicle inspection estimates. It's what, by them doing that, what effect that's going to have on the business. Certainly from a reporting point of view as well, by them completing these flows and following that step, that's giving that business and the business owner that data that they may need as well. So it's for them to have that understanding, not just about what to do, it's why as well they're doing why they're being asked to follow these processes.
The front of house course is an interesting one, isn't it? Do you think this role has traditionally been overlooked perhaps in garages?
I think they've started to value that position a lot more, is a good word, I think, in terms of you're certainly not just a receptionist, certainly not in an independent garage. Having the right person in that position is absolutely key, and especially if you're using software, a garage management system. Garage Hive is a fantastic tool. It really is. It doesn't do the work for you, but it gives you the tools and ability to work in an organised and structured manner, and to get some fantastic data out the back end.
Going back to the super user course, have you found that a lot of the delegates have been surprised at the capabilities within Garage Hive and weren't perhaps aware of how to maximise it?
I think people are quite often aware there might be things that they can make better use of in terms of all of the features on Garage Hive. I think what some of those features can do and how that can help process organisation, clarity of where a job might be at. I think that's what surprises people is what these changes can do. People might have heard of X, Y, or Z feature, but actually putting that in and discussing that in a room with people who might have already implemented that, especially, I think can really bring that to life of what the possibilities are.
Getting back to the garage management system itself, Rhys, what's new from Garage Hive?
Okay, so at the Blend we announced that we've integrated with Copilot that Microsoft's obviously heavily invested in. So at the moment we're using that to generate AI sales pitches for the online auths. So when a technician does a checklist and identifies a problem and writes what they found wrong, we're using Copilot to analyze that data and come up with a good starting point as a prompt for a service advisor on how perhaps you can word this to a customer that both gives enough technical details to explain why it needs to be done, but also tries to get it across in a way that an average customer should understand it. Like with all things AI, it's not perfect, but the idea of the feature is it gives you 90% of what you need, allows you to just make a little tweak, get it in your language. So that really helps.
Not everybody's got that natural ability to turn what a technician's telling them into an easy, digestible thing for a customer. So that's been the main feedback I've had.
It's a really exciting development, but equally not everybody is going to be comfortable with using AI. So it's probably worth mentioning here that it's an optional feature within Garage Hive, right?
Indeed, it's there as a click of a button. So in your standard flow that everyone has already, if you want to, you click the button, let it generate, edit it if you want to, and use it if you want to. So it's an addition, a seamless addition into an existing flow. Yeah.
Good stuff. Anything else that's new from Garage Hive?
Yeah, so we've just added the ability to add any video link into our online documents. So online documents are the phrase we use for when we send documents like a vehicle inspection or an estimate to a customer to view what work has been done and authorize anything that we're trying to get the customer to do while it's in. And we've always had, for a while now, we've had the ability to add a YouTube link into there and vehicle visuals links into there, which are technical explainer videos. But now we've expanded that to allow the use of any video. So as long as the video is hosted somewhere and there's a URL to view the video, then we can embed that into the online auth. Another feature we integrated with recently was Service Split. You may have heard about that on other podcasts, but Service Split's come out as a way for independent garages to compete with the dealership networks and offer predefined service plans. It's a great customer retention tool, adds value to the customer because they can spread their costs over months, and a lot of garages, either use them as inflation beating or give some kind of discount or some perk recovery, etc. So everyone wins really. Garage gets retention. Customer gets benefits and spread costs. And so we at Garage Hive, we integrated with Service Split to bring that in as a seamless process. Again, using, say, an online auth or an estimate, you can get the customer to agree for next year's pricing or whatever you want to do. And then we've got a nice seamless integration. You can just click a button in Garage Hive. It will create the contract on Service Split, send the invoice out to the customer. So that's a really good integration. It's working really well. It's quite slick. We also did an integration with Timetastic to help with the schedule. Any holidays or absences recorded in Timetastic will automatically be logged in the schedule on Garage Hive against technicians or front of house, which is great. And on a caveat to that, just as a Easter egg for an upcoming feature, we're also working on integrating bank holidays into the schedule too. So we'll automatically block out bank holidays into your service schedule where work is loaded. A feature we brought out in COVID, which is still very much in operation, we brought out contactless check-in, which is a way for customers to have a feeling that they've actually handed over their vehicle when they're dropping off out of hours. We've got an online form they fill out, have I dropped it off, have I parked it in a safe place, where have I left my keys, that kind of thing. So expanding that sort of feature set, we're bringing in pre-check-in, which is like a guided process for confirming what's been booked in for, allowing you to, I'll use the word upsell, but for want of a better word, you know what I mean, allowing you to offer additional services that would align with what the vehicle's been booked in for. So that's our pre-check-in feature that's coming to get data off people the day before it comes in. And then also a real-time work status update. So we're working very hard at the moment on the customer's journey with our garages and trying to give the customers the answers to all the questions they have without them having to chase the garage for it, which will obviously make the customer's journey more enjoyable and less anxious, but also free up time for front of house to do what's important for their role instead of having to update the customers. And this isn't to try and make everything fully digital and completely remove the conversation. What we're trying to do is make sure that all of the time you have for those personal interactions is spent on positive and fruitful things, and not, just to let you know your car is gone in the workshop now. More to the point, it's the customer calls up asking, your car's been with us 3 hours. If we can just avoid that phone call, you can then spend a bit longer on the phone with them later, having a nice conversation, improving that relationship rather than dealing with their anxiety.
Work status updates, such a brilliant idea. What tips or advice do you give to workshops just getting started on Garage Hive?
I think just quickly, just the one point I want to make on this is about taking your team along for that journey. I think that there are many things that certainly my team, but also the sales team, will take you through and prior to go live and saying, make sure you do X, Y, and Z. And then those things are important. Don't get me wrong, they are. But what stands above all of those to me is that people understand why you're going on this journey and what their part in that may take, and that there might be challenges along the way. And I think those people who have a much smoother first few months are those people who have a team who have been taken along that journey with the business owner.
I think there's two parts to this. From my point of view, I think for them to try and keep an eye on what's new. Obviously, as we said again earlier on, Garage Hive is constantly evolving, constantly improving, both with new features and also refinements. So I think to these people who have been on for a long time, trying to make sure that they keep an eye on what's new, what's newly launched, because it's quite easy in the busy environment for things to get slipped. But a lot of the time, these features that we are launching is going to help them with their processes, efficiency through automation. So making sure that they're keeping up to speed with new features is something that I would recommend they do to try and assist with that.
A top tip might be, everyone is really busy and people don't have time, but maybe you've got time, just make a recurring schedule event on the 15th of every month to say, Google Garage Hive what's new, or if you're a user, then there's a tile on the roll center for what's new. You can just go there once every 30 days and just scan through what we've released, and it'll just keep you up to date.
With links to the documents, the videos of how they can utilize these new features, how they can implement them, set them up. And then obviously on the back of that, they've got the support team as well if they need any further assistance with that. And also, I think, Rhys, you mentioned earlier, we had a bit chat about the Power BI element of it as well. So being able to get this data.
Of course, to really progress in this, there's two elements. The better the data that you put in and have in, the better the reports you get. But we've got robust process for what we call MOTing your system. So if anyone wants to know more about that, for Garage Hive users, reach out to the team about MOTing the system. There is a very small number of just checks you can do just as you're glancing past. Literally, as you walk past people's machines, you can just click a button and just check a couple of things here and there to make sure that, in general, things are in the right place. And then sitting down and actually looking at, we give every one of our customers a very extensive set of reports built on Power BI that's constantly being evolved, and understanding which of those reports are important to you, which are working, which aren't working, and then making those small incremental changes to what's not working to make them work, will just slowly push you forward. Viewing that data is the start of that journey.
I think one of the key things that Rhys has mentioned there is the input of that data. Your Power BI and your data comes from the posting or processing of documents, and without going too far into the ins and outs, because there may be people who aren't Garage Hive users, with all the fantastic features Garage Hive has, we're managing job sheets, items and labours. So from a business owner's point of view, do you understand what your current job sheets are? Is your items to return list clear? Have everything used gone back? There are a few core things that, if you understand as a business owner and keep your eye on, can tell you a lot about how fundamentally those job sheets, labours and items are being managed. And that's what makes up those figures that are going to be so crucial to you.
For anyone listening and wondering, what is Power BI?
Yeah, so Power BI is a Microsoft product. It's essentially Microsoft Excel with steroids. So if you imagine your accountant might put together all of your figures in Excel and produce a couple of bar charts or pie charts explaining certain elements of your business. Power BI is all of that and so much more fed into a product called Microsoft Power BI, where we've built an app of reports. So we collect data from lots and lots of different data points within Garage Hive, and then we've built out specific reports. And then there's just a refresh schedule. So you have, last time I counted, it was 106 odd different reports for different niches of data. Obviously, there's a lot of overlap between those reports, but it depends on exactly what you're trying to look at. At least once a day, 8 times a day, depending on how often you actually want to analyze this data. But you get this data not live, but within a 24-hour period of your business. And that's so much more powerful than waiting for, an end of year financial statement. Those financial statements are incredibly important, but they serve a different purpose. The operational data, viewing it almost as the business is happening, allows you to make incremental changes and see them happen. You can make a change today, check tomorrow whether it worked. Whereas obviously with financial statements or just checking your bank balance, you have to wait a substantial period of time, and if it hasn't worked, there's a bigger problem at play.
And these reports are being generated purely by people doing their day-to-day roles within Garage Hive. They don't have to go in and do pivot tables or anything like that. It's purely with every task that they do within Garage Hive on a daily basis is generating these reports in the background. So they're not actually having to go and do anything. They're just being given this data at the end.
And Rhys mentioned that there's 100 odd reports, and I think it's important to state there that you're giving people the choice. Yes, there's 100 odd reports. There's a dashboard with some of the things that we may consider might be someone's main metrics that they might look at daily. But it's about giving someone that choice of data. There might be reports that not everyone uses every day, but some people may. And I think Garage Hive as a product generally is about giving someone that choice and adaptability as far as you can with software. And I think Power BI does a very similar thing in terms of reporting.
Would it be fair to say that anyone that may be interested in these reports should head over to Garage Industry Trends to see the kinds of metrics that you could be reporting on within your own business?
Garage Industry Trends reports are built in Power BI, so it will give you a concept of it. They're kind of different reports because of the way they analyse, but yeah, you're absolutely right, Mike. That would be a good way of looking. And we do have some virginalised data that's used from our sales team of an older report. It's not a full set of reports, and some of the data is excluded for data protection rules. But if you were going through our sales process, you will be shown some of what can come out the back of it. And I'm sure a lot of people do actually is reach out to our existing users, go find someone local that's using their product, and most of our community are more than willing to share their figures quite publicly. So yeah, the reports aren't a secret thing, but obviously there's sensitive data there. We can't just make it all public.
To wrap up this episode, I've got a big question for each of our guests today. So Dawn, let's start with you. What impact do you think Garage Hive has had on the independent garage sector?
So one of the things that I've noticed from some of the customers who are onboarded with Garage Hive recently is that it's given them that tool to help them grow their business, some of which is allowed them to go into multi-location. One of particular customer that I've got in mind is now opened their third location, and some of the feedback I got from him was just how easy it was for him to add additional, initially when his second site was opened, that transition period, because Garage Hive has these processes. I know I say it a lot, but it does. It has these processes that they can pick up staff and place them in another location, and it just works the same. It made that move so easy. And when he added the new site and then the third site, it's just repeatable. It just makes that flow easier. That together with the fact that he's got the Power BI data to be able to make these decisions on what the business is looking like. Is it healthy? What is this technician's efficiency? Where we can improve certain things to get this extra from the business. Those two linked together is definitely sort of something I've noticed.
Put this into two answers very briefly. From a community side, being a garage owner, managing a garage, an independent garage can potentially be a lonely place. And I think that the coming together of those like-minded people in the community, we've said it already, but it's a huge part of what we do. And I think that can help massively. We know that mental health is a huge thing within our industry. And having that community, going back to industry trends, knowing that you're not by yourself in terms of that slight drop in bookings or whatever it might be, I think that's a huge impact and could have positive impacts not only on people's business but their own personal mental health. But from a software side, I've had a lot of people say that it's almost like having an extra employee, and I think that is without paying that person £30,000 a year, and it gives you that structure. That impact is there is structure, and it's like having that extra employee. But I think that the real value for me is within the community and being able to bounce off your peers around you.
Yeah, mine is sort of similar to Tom's, but actually, I suppose it's a different angle. I've been in the motor industry in one way or another since I was 18, and I've personally, I think there's been a massive change. And what Garage Hive is doing, and I'm not trying to take credit for it, it's the community actually. So what Garage Hive does is brings together people who all want to make the industry better. In the past, the garage down the road wouldn't talk to the garage up the road because, they're competitors and they're stealing my work, etc. Now, they're meeting up for coffees, they're sharing their financial data, Power BI, they're coming to conferences with each other. So you're running a business and you're trying to make it the best it can possibly be, and you've got a choice. You can sit in your office on your own and do your own research and do your own thing, and that's perfectly commendable and fine. Or you can invite, was it 1,900 people in our community, Dawn, you said, to come and sit around the table with you and thrash out the idea you've got, or see if they've had that idea and it did or didn't work before. And I think it's really opened people's eyes, or I'm certainly seeing a lot of automotive owners, automotive business owners, realise these aren't my competitors, these are my friends and my colleagues, and together the industry has got better and will get better, and we are all doing better for it by doing it together and not against each other.
Powerful stuff. So anyone that wants to find out more and wants to have a chat with you guys, what trade shows are you at this year?
Absolutely. So we are going to be at the Castrol Service Conference in March this year. Auto Mechanica, we've got a stand there. Obviously, that's in June. And we are also going to the Thistle Auto Revival in Scotland, which is taking place in August. So as well as the Blend, which we're hosting in October as well. So yeah, there's lots of places and opportunities for you to come and meet myself and some of the team members as well.
Dawn, Rhys, Tom, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with us today. It's been fascinating to find out how you guys are helping independent garages thrive and hearing more about those latest Garage Hive developments.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's a wrap for today's episode of the Blend Podcast. Thanks so much for listening and watching. We've got an exciting lineup of hugely insightful guests again this year, with the next episode due to land very soon indeed. In that episode, we'll be taking a deep dive into employee pay versus performance, so be sure to look out for that one. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast on your favourite podcast app so you never miss an episode. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. If you're not on YouTube, we'd love a review in your podcast player. You've heard it all before, but all of that good stuff really does go a long way to supporting us. Thanks, guys.